Hello and happy Halloween. This is Jason, and I thought I'd do a little different kind of episode and video tonight in honor of Halloween, which is fast becoming one of my favorite holidays of all time. And when you have children, you'll understand why. It's a wonderful holiday, and it's so fun and it's awesome. But I think I wanted to tell you tonight, in honor of this awesome holiday, something a little different than usual. I want to talk to you about a ghost story. And not just any ghost story, not a ghost story. I'd like to tell you about my ghost story. This is my ghost story. I don't know how long the video will be, but I've always wanted to tell it en masse, so here we go. I want to start off by saying something that I don't, not to sound like Indiana Jones, but I don't believe in a lot of hocus pocus, superstitious nonsense. And that's just the way it is. But the events I'm about ready to tell you have made me reconsider a lot of things that I had put into bed and in a shadow box somewhere in my mind. So let's begin, shall we? My wife and I, probably, I'm guessing about 4 years ago, bought our first house in Oak Park, California. And it was very nice. It was the house of our dreams. It was a great first house. And we moved in, but before we did, we, of course, dealt with a wonderful man who had lived there, and his name was Elliot. And Elliot, every time we visited, his kids had grown up, his daughters had grown up and left, and his wife had recently died, and her name was Marilyn. She had died of breast cancer. And when we would go into his house, he was so sweet. He was so nice. It was just one of the best people I've ever dealt with. The perfect person to buy a house from, basically. And every time we'd go in, he would have incense burning, and of course, just he was studying Buddhism, and he was going off to be a monk. After we were going to buy his house, he was going to Thailand to retire and be a monk for the rest of his life. He would always have a computer or a TV going with the Dalai Lama playing, and it seemed like he was heavily into it, very studious, very involved. It was obviously going to be his life's practice at this point. Didn't think much of it, just thought, cool, awesome, well, that's great, what a wonderful man. He wanted to get out of the house so badly. He was like, you can have all the furniture, you can have anything you want, it's yours, because I'm getting out of here and going away and being spiritual for the rest of my life. We got a great deal for the house, and we moved in. While we were there, not long after, because we only lived in this house for about 2.5 years anyway, not long after, I was taking a shower. And in the shower, it had the big sliding tempered glass doors. And I would always take a shower, particularly at the beginning with my young son, who was very young. I would just bathe him, then bathe myself many, many times. It was just an easy way to get stuff done. You dads will know what I'm talking about. On this occasion, I did not have my son with me. And I opened the door, got in, and was looking out at something. I was talking to my wife, and as I shut the door ever so gently, it exploded. And it exploded all into me, and it exploded all over the room. It exploded so far out, it went from the bathroom, which was a large bathroom, all the way into our master bedroom. The glass there was so much glass in this door, it had come up nearly to the bottom of my kneecaps. It was just shards and shards of shrapnel of glass, and it cut me all over myself going into me, but my legs too, my feet, everything. It would have been absolutely disastrous had my son been in the shower with me. He would have been eviscerated. It was horrible. So as I sat there bleeding, my wife knew that something had happened. It sounded like an explosion, like a gun went off. This is tempered glass. It's not supposed to do this. It's not supposed to break like this. And we had to get me out of there, literally lift my leg and feet through this pool of shrapnel glass, which was cutting up more. It was stuck to the bottom of my feet, so every time I took a step, it actually cut me more. And blood was everywhere. And we got me to another area of another shower in the bathroom and started to get me cleaned up. And thus began the process of cleaning this mess up, which took about 4 hours, all said and told. It was a very bizarre event, and it was very sobering to realize what would have happened to my son had he been in there. I still have scars on my ankles and my feet to this day from this event. But it was so much, there was so much glass, and there was so much blood from this that we really couldn't believe it. We took that night the whole structure of the door down. We just took everything off because there was another sliding glass door too. And we're like, well, Jesus Christ, we don't want this to happen again. But we didn't talk. We were very quiet while we were doing it because I think it played on our minds. Even had James been in the living room and this happened without my wife there, he was already coming in because he had heard the sound. I would have damaged myself and injured myself even further to stop him from coming in. And it just was very bizarre. It was odd and startling in a way that cannot really be explained, I guess, unless you're a parent and you start putting two to two together and you're like, yeah, that's bad. So after the whole thing was done, we were very rattled. We were very shaken by the event, getting me cleaned up, getting the bathroom cleaned up, all this stuff, and it should not have happened. And we took the other glass door, and I held it gently like, oh my God, I don't want this to explode and do whatever. And we took it out to the yard, which we were going to dispose of later. My wife finally went to bed, and I was like, Jesus, that was nightmarish. I just needed a beer and calm down for what happened. And I went upstairs to my office, which is much like this one, and I put on my headset, whatever. I've just got my music on my iMac, and I laid back and I put my feet up, which were just still bleeding through the gauze and the bandages. Some cuts probably should have used a few stitches, but we just did the best we could with the emergency kit we had. And prop my feet up, and I have on my I don't know what you call it, iMusic or my iMac, I literally have 10 days worth of music. If you added it all up, I've got 10 days worth of music from start to finish. And what I do is I just hit on random, I just hit the space bar and let the music play when I just want to chill and relax and listen to music in my headphones. So I sit back, taking a sip of my beer, hit the pause or the space button, and on comes Walking on Broken Glass by Annie Lennox. So, swear to Batman, this song just plays, and it's like literally 2:33 in the morning, and I'm just sitting there barely able to move because I was fucking walking on broken glass just a few moments ago. To be 10 days worth of music, and this is the song that plays, was chilling, quite frankly. And I just sat there like, cool. Okay. All right. Well, that's odd and astronomical that this percentage-wise that this would happen. But anyway, I just shook my head at it and thought, well, ain't life a bitch. Okay. Yay. I went to bed that night, still rattled. My wife was rattled. And my son, too, because he knew that Daddy had gotten a boo-boo. There was just blood everywhere. And we kept cleaning. The next morning, I took my son to school, and as I was getting him ready, I opened the refrigerator to get whatever, his food together, his lunch together. And when I shut the door, I was walking away from the refrigerator, and I have a collection of steins that were properly placed on top. And I had just gotten a new stein for my birthday, and it was a beautiful glass stein. And it was propelled from the top of the refrigerator at me and smashed all over the floor. Next to my feet, and there was glass once again everywhere underneath me, all over the place. And I've had just about a fucking enough of glass at this point. This is literally just the next day. And it was everywhere. And I sat there like, it didn't fall, it didn't drop, it was launched, and exploded everywhere. So now I'm just like, what the fuck is going on up in here? Very weirded out. I get James in the car, I take him to school, and at this point, and like I said, I don't believe in jack shit. I don't, not any of this beyond what we see, supernatural, shenanigans. And at this point, I didn't even want to go home because I thought, what the fuck is next? Am I going to walk in the door and just all the glass just shatters around me? And then how am I going to explain that to my wife? She'll be like, you're fucking crazy. How am I going to explain this? Like, I really highly expected this to happen, to tell you the truth. I go in, it's a rainy day in California. Yes, we have those. And I swept up all the glass, threw it away. Still finding glass from the explosion the other night. But I've had about enough of the glass, anti-Linux, the whole fucking thing. I'm sick of it. So at any rate, the next couple of weeks, bizarre things start happening around the house. And that's all I can say. At one point, every day, I would get up, and the first thing I would do is I would go upstairs and I would change my son's diaper on a changing table. And the way his room was located, he was at the top of the staircase that you could look down and see into the living room, dining room type area. And one day I got up, I was changing him, and from the corner of my eye, looking downstairs, I saw a woman walk from the living room area into the kitchen. We had a bizarre schedule where we're both restaurant managers trying to make it work all the time. So we had nannies coming and going, babysitters coming and going, grandparents coming and going. And the first thing I thought was, fuck, I've messed up today's schedule. Somebody is here for James and my son, and he's not ready yet. And my wife's going to, of course, kick my ass. So I was like, great. So I saw the woman. I didn't know who it was. She walked across the room, and I kept changing James's diaper. Got him done, and I finally picked him up, and I looked down the steps. I said, hello, like, which one of you's here? I'm sorry. Let me figure out what I need to do today. Okay, stupid daddy husband. So I start walking down. No one answers me. I say, hello, again. And I go to realize that there is nobody in this house. But I did see somebody walk across that floor with long hair. It was a woman. I could tell from the side. And I was mystified because there was no woman in this house. At least not, one here in this world. And I've got James, and I'm like, now, I saw a woman walk across this room. I did. Just now. Okay? This is just a few days after all the glass events are happening. Okay? So ultimately, now it's just like, the shit is on. Some shit is going on up in here. And let me be Indiana Jones once again and tell you, I don't believe in any of this shit. None of it. Okay? Not one bit. So, this is coming from somebody who doesn't believe in any of this afterlife, supernatural, beyond reality shit. Okay? Within the next week, my son starts getting out of his bed and escaping from his bedroom, which parents will understand this. After a certain point, they can escape their crib. They can get out of their crib and they start exploring and yay. So what we would do is on the outside of his door, he had a double door. We put a lock on to where once you put this sliding lock on, he couldn't get out, like baby-proofing it to where he was inside his room so that if he got up before we did, he couldn't destroy the house or hurt himself. So we had a monitor, electronic monitor in his room. And we could, replay and shit. And we saw that he was getting out, but we couldn't see how he was getting out of the door. Every day, he could get out of this door, this double door that we locked. And it was mystifying. We didn't know how he was doing this. There was no way to do this. I couldn't fucking do this if I wanted to. Nathan, my wife couldn't. So finally we told James and we said, James, show us how you get out. And during the day we would lock it up and just wait there. And we'd look on the monitor and we'd sit outside the door and go, how is he getting out of his room? How is he able to do this? And he never could. And we'd be like an hour, like sitting there like, no, come on. I've got, treats for you and toys. Get out of the room. And he couldn't do it. But that night when we would go to sleep, the door would open and he could get out. Every single day. Every single morning he could do it. And we could never fucking figure out how this was happening. Okay? This is a succession of all the events that I'm telling you about. All right? So finally, it got to the point where I was like, some shit is going on up in this fucking house. Something is going on. Because there's a difference between going, I don't believe in shit, and being presented with things that cannot be explained away without going, it's not a coincidence. This shit is happening back to back to back to back to back within weeks now, okay? The day after all of this happened, which I have to backtrack with the glass exploding, mail arrived at our house for Elliot's deceased wife, Marilyn, who died of breast cancer. Okay? The day after. Never received mail before, never received mail after. But it was a clinic basically following up asking, hey, how are you doing? Well, what do you mean how you doing? She was dead. So the thing is that I didn't even really know her name until the next day after the glass exploded. And I looked at it and said, oh, her name was Marilyn. This woman's name was Marilyn. So after a while, it was hard to not accept the fact that she was still here with us. She was still in the house with us, okay? And believe me, you'd ask anybody who knows me, this was a hard deduction for me to make because I just don't fucking believe in it. It drives me nuts when people explain away shit to anything supernatural. I can't stand it. But I had to after a fucking while. About 2 weeks later, after all these events happened, we finally decided we need to get rid of this other glass fucking door that we had in the backyard that we didn't dispose of because I thought I'd look at it hard and it would explode, okay? I mean, it was terrifying how damaged my feet and ankles, legs, my body I was still cut from. I mean, it was just horrible. Horrible. So I went outside and I said, listen, I'm gonna break this up, and I put a towel or I put a cover over it, and so I'll just hit it with a hammer, break it in the blanket, this old shitty blanket, and then I'll pick it up and I'll dump it all in, the trash can, whatever. And that'll be an easy way to dispose of this door. So I laid it down. My wife was outside, and I hit it, and I just thought, man, I'm gonna tap this thing, and it's gonna explode, right? So I just hit it a little bit, nothing. So I go, okay. I hit it a couple more times, nothing. Open it up, no scratch, no crack, no anything. So I'm like, what the fuck? So now I load it up and I start hitting it hard, like, with some goddamn authority. Nothing. No crack, no break, no nothing. So I'm like, what the fuck? So now I go get the biggest, heaviest hammer you can get that we own now. We got like 3 or 4. I get our Bad Mama Jamma. The one that you would use, to kill ogres. I go get it. And I give it a goddamn Thor fucking hit. I mean, I am hitting this motherfucker as hard as I can. I mean, I'm like 6'2", 220 with more than enough muscle, and nothing. Not a fucking thing. No crack, no scratch, no nothing. I'm not even touching. And I mean, my wife's watching me. She can cross-reference this whole event. I am beating the fuck out of this thing, and it's not cracking. Nothing. I finally just had to take this the next day and throw it away in a dumpster, intact. It would not break. And I mean, I was hitting this thing so hard, if it was steel, I would have been bending it. I would have been denting it. And this was glass. The same fucking type of door that exploded all over me and cut the shit out of me. A true fucking story, okay? All of it is. And when it was all said and done, I remembered back to when we bought the house from Elliot. And he was studying Buddhism. And he had incense burning all the fucking time. And he had the accoutrements of good mojo up in the fucking house all the time. And I deduced that he knew some shit was up. Now, in California, they are supposed to have full disclosure when somebody dies in a home. They just are. Okay, some people are freaked the fuck out by it, like, nah, I ain't buying this motherfucking house. Some people don't give a shit. I probably wouldn't have given a shit. We have full disclosure, and that was never disclosed. Never. To my knowledge, she died in a hospital from breast cancer. Okay? But I really, truly, I don't feel, I know inside that Marilyn was in that house with us. I know she was. And that's hard for me to say, because I just don't believe. I didn't. Okay? But I finally made amends after this fucking door didn't break, after her mail arrived, after Glass fucking pummeled me all the fucking time. My son could do whatever the fuck he wanted in the house. And, I saw her. So one day, I sat in the office, much like this one, and I just said out loud, you know what, Marilyn? It's cool. It's cool. You take care of my son. You've never hurt him. I understand you want me to realize you're here. You are here. This is still your home. You can stay in it as long as you want, and you can leave it whenever you want. But I know you're here. And thank you for watching after my son. And thank you for not, ever harming him. Because she never did. She never fucking did. I mean, she harmed the fuck out of me. But then again, it's me. But after I said that, that was it. I never saw her again. There was no more glass breaking. I still listen to Annie Lennox, but hey, But I truly, sincerely can tell you from somebody that does not believe in superstitious bullshittery that she was still with us, and she was a ghost, or something, whatever you would call it, and she was still in that fucking house. And this really happened. So, anytime now people tell me they've seen a ghost, or they've got a story, or something happened to them, I'm a little more inclined to listen and believe and hear them, because it happened to me. And that's my ghost story. Happy Halloween. And good night, Marilyn.